The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flyin Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
Soccer is my favorite sport now.
Jersey swap.
Car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin Lion podcast on an up week for FC Cincinnati as we had a draw against Tigres at home for CONCACAF Champions Cup, but then a pretty awesome 2-0 win against Toronto on Saturday. Sam, how we feeling?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. I'd say, the first half of the week, I mean, it came by really quick, right? Obviously playing Tuesday, it was like, boom, we're going from Saturday to Tuesday. Here we go. And then, obviously a little bit, a couple more days there to prepare for Saturday's match. Happy, that was at home as well. So that way there wasn't really much travel involved, this week, but, this upcoming week, we've got some travel involved. So, yeah, I can't wait to break this down. Obviously we've got a huge second leg coming up as you're listening to this probably today. Yeah, exciting.
Maybe I was a little too positive on it was a great week, because obviously a draw is not what we want. We want to win this competition. Giving away the away goal is, not necessarily ideal, especially with, how much we dominated this game. So we'll break down this Tigres game, the Toronto game, and then second half of the episode, some FCC 2 news, and then some previews for the upcoming matches, some player news as well that we heard from last week that was a little bit surprising as well. But as we mentioned for the Tigres game, with that draw, I was just excited just to see how well we played against them. I think even though it wasn't their strong team necessarily, kind of the whole hype about this, the Tigres matchup being a massive club from Liga MX. It was interesting, Sam, going to the match that we didn't see as many Tigres supporters as I was expecting. They were kind of sprinkled around the stadium compared to kind of up in that away section. So you did see them kind of littered around the stadium. They did have a lot of setup, a lot of different banners and things like that. There was a fight, I believe, over in that area as well that I had heard about, and I think there's video online about that as well. So a lot of emotions going on with that one. But yeah, it was interesting. The attendance was only 14,298 for it. But again, this is only a 6-day notice. This was not included on the season ticket package. So in some ways that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I understand that. But, as we'll touch on a little bit later, there was, the expectation that it was going to be a lot more, especially with the clash that you're talking about, the second biggest club, arguably, in Mexico. So, yeah, I think attendance was a little disappointing. But like we said, quick turnaround. It's a Tuesday night. But, I mean, we still saw a very, very good lineup.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's helpful to kind of recap this match is to prep us for the next one. I know this already happened, early on in the week last week, but it'll kind of get you guys prepared for what we talk about later on and our thoughts about it. So lineup wise, we had probably the arguably strongest lineup we had available except for Orishano. You had Celentano, Engel, Hadebe, Miles Robinson as captain like he's been all year. Flores, Yedlin, Buka, Wobodo, Evander, Kubo, and Denke. And I'm kind of glad looking at this lineup, that we did start, all of our strong players. And for Pat to kind of manage between the guys that we have available, working through some injuries as well, and just all the minutes that we've had early on in the season. Honestly, just very nice to see that we got out to a strong start and we get the 3-minute goal from Pavel Buka.
Yeah, right off the bat. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were still trying to get to their seat, right? Is one of those goals where it's like, oh, all right, well, I guess we're up 1-0. But yeah, I think in the build-up was really well done. Yedlin, arguably, I think there might have been a play on even, with a foul on Yedlin in the build-up, and then Kubo's able to kind of pass it to Denke. Denke is able to see Buka outside the 18-yard box there and plays it perfectly, and Buka just places it like he has, all season so far, just perfectly in that right bottom corner.
Yeah, the Champions Cup guy, he's just been the dude. He's got 3 goals now in that competition this year. Unfortunately, we did give up an equalizer in the 17th minute. There was kind of a ball played at the end line that I think Hadebe and Celentano both hesitated for a second, which allowed their striker to basically jump over Hidebe's back. Otherwise, I think if Hidebe has his right footing, like he probably heads out and away. Maybe Roman gets in a better position. But I think the half second where they thought it might have gone out really threw him off. And it's just an awkward goal. It's kind of an unfortunate one to give away, especially, in an aggregate setting where these teams need to score, even for us going in for, tonight, by the time you're listening, you have to have these away goals, which kind of trumps, the home goals, obviously, and to advance that way. So that's kind of how they get their goal. And then from there, it was really a 1-1 battle. But we had a ton of chances. Denke missed a wide open sitter that Buka had played perfectly right to him. Later on, I think Denke has a one-on-one with the keeper as well and can't slot it by him. And then Orishano, we see his, first action for FCC in 2025 and came in and honestly just looked like Orishano, but a guy that we had been missing early on in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when he came in, it's like he picked up where he left off, right? Started creating chances left and right. And I mean, it's incredible watching him, right? Not having him for the first couple games of the season, and you got to remember like how skilled he is on the ball, and the sprint speed. I think that was the biggest thing. Once again, like just watching him turn, take the ball, and just go right. And we're like, man, we've been missing that. So happy to see him back on the pitch, being able to contribute. Unfortunately, like you said, we just weren't able to really convert those crucial chances.
What was interesting with him too is like, if this was his first year last year that he did so well, and like, what's his second year going to look like? How is he going to elevate his game even more? And I think what really stood out for me is like against a solid competition like Tigres is, like you mentioned, the change of pace. Like those guys play at such a high level, such a fast pace that he made them look silly. And maybe it was just the fact that he came in, towards the end of the match and there was some tired legs. But I mean, that dude changes matches and can make it happen out of nothing. Like we saw in the 75th minute when he had that one saved by the keeper. Then the keeper goes down and hurt his shoulder, afterwards. There was a lot of that, and I felt like it wasn't great refereeing, through that match. It was pretty poor, honestly. But overall impressions, because we want to move on and talk more about the Toronto match, but we had a hold of this match and honestly should have been winning 3-1, and it would have been a different story for what we go into the second leg. Buka had the quickest goal of the season for us so far. So again, it's nice to get out to these early starts. I'm hoping for that, in tonight's match as well. And then just to see Santos and Orishano, like we mentioned, come back into the squad. We do have Hagelin available. We do have Dado that's available now. So we're getting some of these main bodies back to, our typical 18. And it'll be interesting to see what Tigres does as well. So as we mentioned on the last episode, their former center back is now their manager. He had since retired to go and coach their team. So for him to get a 1-1 draw was kind of a huge deal, especially with a lot of their main players out. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. But overall, not in a great spot going down to Mexico, but still in a fighting chance, to win. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think, with that, right, Pat's just going into this next match going, hey, we need one goal, right? Need one away goal, and we're right back in this thing. So I think, to your point, we're not out of it. Like, there shouldn't be any which in the past, right, there's been with Monterrey last season, it was kind of like, man, like we're going to have to really fight and claw our way back to get above this aggregate here.
Well, last year, actually, Sam, it was only 1-0 going down there. So, it was almost in the same way. Like, if you get an away goal, you're tied then. Same thing down if we get one more goal down there, like technically we're tied, right? When we go to PK. So we'll touch on that later. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this one later on tonight, by again the time that you guys are listening. As we talk about Saturday's match, though, match day 3 in the MLS, we had a 2-0 win over Toronto, which was honestly a much needed W at home. Was very happy to see that. We did have the Gary bobblehead, so I want to do a quick Gary bobblehead review because we've never had one of these that was a giveaway. 10,000 of them given out. They were sold out by 6:50. The match started at 7:30. So just as we were, kind of getting up there, they were getting rid of the last ones. Some of these are already going for money online as well. I'm going to give you my quick review on the Gary bobblehead for those who are listening. I'll describe it for those who are watching. I have the Gary here to kind of show you if you needed a reminder or didn't see it. But I think it's a solid bobblehead. I feel like typically when you see these bobbleheads, the head is a little bit bigger. So Gary's got a little bit of a smaller head, but he's rocking that kit. I think it looks pretty good on him. Yeah, overall solid. The quality is good. Unfortunately for the ones I think I saw in the stadium, some of them, the heads had popped off already. But yeah, I can't be mad about our first bobblehead like this as a giveaway, and it was a pretty solid one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It could have been worse. Like I've, told you. And yeah, usually you get bobbleheads that are, 10 times bigger than the actual body itself, which then, right, it just falls over, right, a little bit easier.
True.
Where this one's a little bit more size proportional. As far as bobbleheads, do you want a little bit more of a wobble, right? It doesn't wobble too much. It's a little stiff, right?
A little wobble.
Do you need a little bit of wobble more, right? It is what it is. But yeah, obviously, would you rank it up there for one of the best giveaways we've had, or the best?
It's unique,
thoughts?
yeah, for sure. I mean, we haven't done anything like this before, so I'm looking to see maybe some players in the future or something like that, or at least to make these more available in the stadium.
We've seen players bobbleheads available in the team shop and stuff, but no giveaways like this.
Right. Yeah. So overall, solid about it. Maybe if we could ask one thing, to have more of them available, if that would have been a possibility, because I think again people are fighting to find these, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. It's a pretty cool collector's item. So for again those who are listening and watching here, like I'm sure you didn't come to get a bobblehead review. We're talking about the Toronto match. So for this game, Sam, prior to, if we were looking at some of the stats, FCC was actually 7-4-1 against Toronto in MLS play, the most wins that we've had versus one team in the regular season. And then Pat Noonan was unbeaten as the manager against them all time, 5-0-1. And we had never given up a goal at home to them as well. So all that being said, I felt like we were going to get set up to be let down. We talked about it ahead of time, and I was like just waiting for something bad to happen, but I'm glad that it didn't.
Yeah, obviously you walk into a game like that, and I think that was almost echoed, across even, the broadcast and everything else prior to the game. And you're going, man, anytime, something like this is talked about so much and just beat, like it's not going to turn out well for us. And, it looked that way in the first half of like, man, like everything's going against us. Like we're not going to get anything here. And luckily, obviously tides changed in the second half, but we saw a similar lineup though, a little different in the midfield, compared to the Champions Cup earlier that week.
Yeah, well, not only the lineup but the formation, Sam.
Yeah.
So we see the lineup drop, and I don't think a lot of people had it on their radar. FCC shows up in a 4-back system instead of a 5 this time. 2, kind of more central defensive type midfielders, 3 up front. And then Denke is the striker. So you had more of a wing style attacking system there, and it just added one more person to the midfield, which I felt like was a huge key in this match. I'll touch on it. I think now would probably be a good time. I had looked back to actually see Toronto's match against Orlando was the game before ours, and Orlando beat them 4-2. What system was Orlando using against them, Sam? A 4-2-3-1. So good scouting by Noonan and company if that's kind of the way they went. Afterwards, Pat says this is more of a workload management thing. We're working through bodies. We're trying to get them some breaks and minutes, especially in the back line, playing a lot of minutes in a short amount of time. But you can't tell me they didn't look and say, man, Orlando just smoked this team with this system.
Well, yeah, even on top of that, I'll shout out Tommy G. He actually put out a similar thing, right? So the last time we started a back 4 in an MLS game was actually July of 2022 at Columbus. So it had been a very long time since you had seen, a back 4 for Pat. And he actually, that season, 2 out of Pat Noonan's 3 wins with a back 4 came against Toronto in 2022. So he has, looking back, right, he's going, okay, obviously Orlando did this, it worked. I've used this in the past, it's worked. So maybe it's one of those things like shifting the tides a little bit,
Yeah.
trying to figure out get momentum for the rest of the season.
I don't know necessarily. We'll touch a little bit on the formation part now, I guess, because we're bringing it up. Is it in just this moment? Do we keep with it? Do we move on? Because we played so well, or is it just again scouting this team in the way that they've been set up? You know, Toronto has a different manager this year, so it's not like it's been the system that's been implemented. Let's say I can't honestly remember what they had played in the past, but I'm sure they looked at that in the previous game and said, "Look, there might be a tactical advantage with this." And honestly, we would need an extra guy forward. I felt like in the first several games, just to get more creation up there. But especially with Evander, being a sub and not a starter, having that one extra guy was, I think, helpful. We saw a lot of chances, you just didn't capitalize on it. But as we're talking, about the formation, the lineup, like Sam mentioned, was Roman. We had Engel back in there, Hidebe, Robinson, Powell, Buka, Anunga comes in for Obi. Orishano makes his first start of the year. Corey Baird and Kubo, and then Denke. So with Orishano and Corey Baird kind of as like the wingers, and Yuya Kubo almost as like your 10 or your false 9 below Denke. Now, when they actually rolled it out, Sam, I felt like the system looked, at least on the field, kind of similar to what we had. We had been either playing 2 strikers and the midfielder, but even the 10 was drifting out. Like if it was Evander, he'd drift out wide left, especially on the defensive way. So, maybe they were still more comfortable with just the way that we were going to press. And then on offense, you saw it a little bit different where your wing attacking players stayed up higher and they didn't have to drop back as much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you could say what you want, maybe not necessarily about Corey Baird, but at least Kubo and Orishano being able to, like, once again, just rotate, right, from wing into the 10 spot and back out, right? So having those 3 guys right there interchangeable helps in the build-up play and hold-up play. I think, like you said, it kind of having a back 4 helped push, the ball up more. And I think you saw us have more possession in our own half in this game, a lot different than in past games.
Yeah, and honestly, more in their half.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, but like their half. Yes.
Yeah, it was more in their half. But is it just that Toronto's that bad? Like Toronto's bad.
Yeah, it also could be.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, even with like a new formation, like they did well, with the possession. The first chance that I can remember, the 27th minute, I'm still upset that we didn't get any explanation. Like there was a foul that was on Denke that, the ball's played through kind of in the air from Anunga. There's a little bit of a mix up in legs with Denke and the center back, but there's really nothing there. They play on, I think a little bit past it. Like there's a shot that hits the post, that Kubo hits the post. They blow the whistle, so like some of the people stop, and then he finishes it. And they call it back really fast. There's no real look at it, for VAR or anything. It was a complete phantom foul. Like I'm pretty sure, like if this game ends up differently, I'd be looking at this moment and saying, like, are you kidding me? Like we had been dominating at that point. Like if we get a goal in there, a lot of the other ones probably fall.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at that moment, you go like, was that really a foul? Like I think once again, it's the case of 50-50 ball. Denke's not like, there's nothing really there that, like, what do you want him to do? Obviously Kubo misses the first chance, but is able to, put it in. This will be the first of many chances he had in this game.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, and that's good. You want him to be dangerous, and we did see that. The 39th minute as well, like we had a chance where Orishano just shows his brilliance one-on-one, plays it on his left foot, shot from outside the box that the keeper makes a great save on. And then, Baird hits the post right after on the follow-up. So that guy can't buy a goal. He's right there for all of it. Like great positioning, just cannot put it away right now.
At first I thought he was offside, and then you look back and you're like, oh, like he actually timed it perfectly, and just I think it looked like to him it was going to be too casual, too easy, and I think he just let that get into his foot, and it just hits right off the post.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Baird? I felt like he's done decent with the time. Like we saw, his assists earlier on in the Motagua game, to Denke. He's had a lot of chances. Like, but if you're gonna keep that starting spot, like we need production.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
I would say. And we saw Kubo, get that in this game. So I think Baird's got to kind of solidify it if he's going to stay in there and get a goal if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, we can't, have him in there, honestly, and not have him produce. Um, the game goes on, to half and it's 0-0 and you felt like, man, like we were the better side. And I think there's some frustration from the fans, but our team just looks so composed and just ready to score, at will almost in a way. We just got unlucky, in the first half in some ways. But it's soccer, you have to finish your chances. So it finally comes to the second half. Evander comes in for the last 30 minutes of the match. So the 69th minute, he's on the wing. He's just outside the box. He plays a ball in that I think immediately, like, there might be something there. I think actually the guy next to me had stood up and was like calling for it. And it happened so fast. But then you see the players, calling for a VAR. It finally goes out. We get the VAR check and we get a PK, Sam. It kind of changes the momentum of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Evander, it was a great opportunity, great cross in. Wish it would have been a little bit higher over the defender. But those are opportunities that we want to put him in to be able to have those chance creations. And Toronto's, I believe it was Spicer, it almost looks like he tries to like swing his arm
He
back.
dropped his arm back,
Yeah,
like maybe to
but it
pull it
but it
out,
was
but
it was moving, right? So I think that's what did him is the
right.
fact that his arm was moving, and unfortunately for them, it was called a handball after a VAR check, which it seemed like it took a while for it to go to VAR, and then it's almost inconclusive at that point. Like if you're going to go to VAR, you're going to overturn it. Like there's no reason to go to VAR if you're not going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm just happy they called it, honestly, because in that moment, 73rd minute, we get Denke that steps up for the PK, and you're thinking like, man, we deserve this at this point almost because of all the chances that we had.
Yeah.
We really needed to win this game, especially against this Toronto side. So I'm glad it's called. It felt like in years past it hadn't gone our way, so I'm glad that it did. And I think this is really interesting, Sam. Like I was looking, at the players we had on the field, and I said, well, who takes the PK? Because Danke obviously is our big, striker and goal scorer. But Sam Evander is the more experienced PK taker. I had to go and look this up. So Denke scored 8 PKs and has missed 5 in his career. Evander has scored 19 PKs in his career and only missed 2.
Maybe they went with the hot hand, right? Denke's hot. Keep leading the hot
Well,
hand.
my thought is like he's missed some of these like easy tap in chances in the last few games, and like
Confidence. Yeah.
see a couple goals go in, and you're feeling good. And
Well,
like,
yeah. I think you go back to like who needs it more,
well,
right?
and so
Confidence
look at the
wise.
conversation they had, in the first media day.
Yeah.
And Denke says, I like to score goals. And Evander goes, I'll assist you and all of it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a predetermined thing on, okay, in this moment, who takes it. I'm honestly just glad there's not any animosity that we know of
Yeah.
with it. Because imagine if like that goes wrong and they're like, no, I'm taking it. No, I'm taking it. And then it turns into this big thing for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think, once again, like you said, at the beginning of the season, they established it, right? So publicly, they said it. So regardless of what goes on behind closed doors, to the fan base, Denke is taking that shot.
Yeah, and we'll see moving forward if it stays that way. But I just thought it was interesting. Like
Yeah.
19 scored and 2 missed is a pretty dang good record, and Denke 8 scored, 5 missed. So pretty interesting there. Past that moment, Sam, 78th minute. I thought we had another goal, another Kubo chance, another nice, finish there. Baird drives the ball down on this one, and I don't know why he plays it into the 3 people in the middle there. It gets kind of bounced around. It falls off of Santos's leg, actually deflects to Kubo, who slots it away. But if you go back and look, like in real time, I thought he was on, but I'm pretty sure he's like a foot off.
Yeah.
But still, in the moment, I was like, man, because 2-0 feels real good in that moment.
Yeah, well, especially, like we said earlier, Kubo with the chance earlier in the game. And, here we go again. I almost go to celebrate and no, offside. So luckily, Ryan, 88th minute, Kubo gets his goal. Honestly, this is the best goal we've seen this season, in my opinion, as far as just complete goal, whole team, build up, flawless. Like it was beautiful. Like you've got Yedlin to Santos coming down to hold the ball up, to Buka, who has a back heel flick almost, to Vander with a one touch cross, across the pitch, just pinging the ball to Kubo, who just slots it away, easy peasy, left, side of the goal, just beautiful.
Few things about this play. So I love the commentary on it because that's honestly what you saw. I mean, it was in the time you described it. Now compare it to how long it actually took. It was 12 seconds from front to back, or from back to front, I should say. So from where it goes from Yedlin to Santos to Buka to Vander and then Kubo scoring, 12 seconds to score on a counter. And it was beautiful. Like you said, I mean, it was perfectly executed. That's a textbook counter attack.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, great shout on that. It was a nice build up on the goal. I think Kubo loves to see the ball go in the 78th minute. So then 10 minutes later, it's literally from the same exact spot
Yeah.
that he scores
Yeah.
in the same exact way. So it's awesome to see, like, okay, he just had scored it. He had practice, and he scores the
Target
second
practice.
one.
Yeah.
What's funny to me when he scores, though, he turns right away afterwards and looks at the linesman just to make sure. He's like, all right, does that count? Like, what do I have to do there? So pretty cool. We're up 2-0. The vibes are great. I felt like TQL was rocking on Saturday, even for how cold it was. There was some Borussia Dortmund supporters that were there.
About 20 of them.
We were showing out, and it was loud. I think the players could feel it. And we improved to 8-4-1 all time against Toronto, 6-0-1 for Noonan against them, still unbeaten against Toronto. And we move on. I mean, it's just awesome to see, especially having Orishano, go out of this match for the time that he did at the end, even when we weren't necessarily even winning, at that point. And to get some of the other, like Hidebe, out to get him some rest, it overall just was nice. And then, we can now move on to what we need to focus on. Sam, Yuya Kubo does get the team of the match day for the 5th time of his FC Cincinnati career. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, shout out to him. Third player this season to be honored. Denke was on the bench earlier this season, and then Robinson was team of the match day. So nice to see. In 3 games in the MLS, we've got 3 players that have made it in there. But yeah, obviously Kubo team in the match day. But I actually wanted to shout out Anunga. Just a quick sneak peek. I don't think he's any of our jersey swaps, but I wanted to give him the proper shout out because I thought he played phenomenal this game. Best rating, player rating out of anybody in the game, 92% passing, 11 passes, Ryan, into the final third, most in the game. So clearly you're seeing him being able to take, kind of that commanding role that Pat was kind of, that's why he got the armband, right? Because he's able to kind of command the middle there. And then he had 14 recoveries. This dude was all over the pitch. 5 for 5 on duels won as well. So he was making an impact. Maybe it wasn't, on the score sheet, assist, anything like that, but those are the stats that go unnoticed.
Yeah, and honestly, a big turnaround for him compared to the Philly match. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
I felt like after that game, it's like, all right, never put Anunga next to Obi again, and they didn't. And they had, honestly, it shows you Buka is like the dude.
Yeah.
In this game, I felt like he did well. But yeah, shout out to Anunga for basically being Obi. He didn't have to do as much in this match because it wasn't as threatening, in Toronto. But he did his job, and he did his job well. So shout out to him for filling that space. It gave Obi a little bit of a break too. Again, it's not a position or a player, I should say, that we've had to fill that spot in years past. So that is huge that we have that this year. But Sam, you mentioned here in our outline, talking about confidence in the FCC attack. Like, I think we've created a ton of chances, and the goals are going to come. We said this last year. It's really getting everyone on the same page. We're starting to see some of these chances now come from that. Getting Orishano involved will help with that too. in the formation that we played, with the 4-2-3-1, with the wing attackers, Pat Noonan was actually switching, Baird and Orishano throughout the match, and we saw him do that with wing backs last year. But I think it's a nice, kind of tactical wrinkle that he can employ, and to honestly have those guys willing to kind of switch sides on that as well. I felt like that created some havoc, so I'm looking for that in the future. I'm hoping that we can continue to score goals that way. We'll talk about it, in the second part of this episode on does this formation stay or not. So stay tuned for that part. But I think you do have a trivia question of the week that is going to be presented by Goals TV. Sam, let's hear it.
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, this trivia week is presented by Goals TV. When is the last time FC Cincinnati made it past the round of 16 in a cup competition, not including the MLS playoffs?
So I just had to chuckle, and I kind of highlighted this. There's only 16 teams that are in the MLS playoffs, so that's why I thought it was funny that you made that.
But you make all these exclusions, right? I just want to no confusion here.
Okay,
right?
All right.
Not
outside of the MLS, yes. I'm gonna go with actually last year. I think it was that we made the same round against Monterrey and lost. Is what I'm gonna go with.
When's the last time we made it past the round of 16?
Oh, past that round though?
Yes.
Oh man, probably. Are we talking MLS,
cup competition,
USL, everything?
Cup competitions? Yeah, not USL, all MLS.
Oh man, was it the COVID tournament? Maybe is what I'm gonna go with.
Okay.
I think we won a few matches.
The MLS is back.
MLS is back. I think we made a run then. That's what I'm gonna go with.
All right. Ryan's going with it. We'll see what the answer is on the other side.
Hey, FC Cincinnati fans. We are pumped to share our new sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
I'm sipping on the passion fruit margarita, which is so spicy, and it makes me feel like I'm on the beach.
Ooh, that sounds great. I'm drinking the blood orange spritz, which has a great subtle ginger flavor coming from its scientifically formulated recipe to promote exercise recovery, enhance relaxation, and support a better night's sleep.
Ryan, that's exactly why I love them. Their cocktails are designed to fit seamlessly into your health-conscious lifestyle, giving you the enjoyment of a delicious adult drink without the downsides of alcohol.
Guys, next time you are looking for that post-workout drink or an afternoon pick-me-up, grab a Peak Cocktail. Visit them at www.peakcocktails.com and use the code FLYINLION at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Zach, enjoy your drink.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for listening to our sponsor, Peak Cocktails. Go and check them out online and enter our promo code as we had described there. Sam, we're going to roll into our card of the week here. Tell us what you had. There was a lot of good options this week.
Yeah, I know. My first instinct was to go with some different things, but ultimately I was just disappointed with the lack of attendance for the Tigres match, really. Yes, this match was midweek, but I thought attendance should have been better than 14,000. For a Mexican club of this size, I was very surprised also by, an FCC standpoint and a Tigres standpoint. For the Managua game and Monterrey home matches this season and last season, we had over 21,000 fans at both games. Right. So CF Monterrey's market value is roughly around $100 million, and Tigres is right there, second highest with $77.88 million. So this is the second, largest club in Mexico. So I was just expecting a little bit better considering, I know the Tigres fans are going to show out, as you're listening to this tonight.
Yeah, we got to get some fans in for these Champions Cup matches. Like the first one was packed because it's included in your season ticket package. Yeah. So everyone's going to go to that. But yeah, I mean, you have 6 days notice, but it's against one of the best teams in North America. And, at the time of when you're buying your tickets, you're not looking to see, oh, well, Tigres isn't bringing, their A squad, so I'm not going to go. It's like you go to support your team in this huge competition. Like it's a big deal that we make this 2 years in a row now. So show out, and okay, it's a Tuesday night. I get it. Like kids are in school and everything. fine, but like maybe we're biased. I agree with you. Like I just wish it was a little bit bigger. I don't know how we like rectify this situation other than like if you play it reverse, and you have Champions Cup where you have Leagues Cup, in July instead. Maybe that, brings a larger attendance once kids are out of school then. But yeah, it was a little disappointing. When you go, tonight to Tigres, there's 60, 70,000 people, at this match. So it's going to be quite the environment to play in and to honestly even watch. I just hope one day to go and to check those matches out. I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering, we talked to Carter, we talked to Tommy G, like Monterey was insane last year. So hopefully, the players feel the same, are able to compare the two, clubs in Monterey, Tigres or Monterey, which one?
Yeah. Well,
they
and
like
Carter
better?
even mentioned, and I think a lot of the guys on social media had posted about it, but a lot of the media team from FC actually went to watch
went
the
to the
Tigres
Tigres match. Yeah.
and just would rave about it. If you look at Monterey being kind of like the high end, club, and they spend all this money, look how beautiful their stadium is. Like you go to El Volcan in Tigres and it's just like a party. It's just loud. There are fans that are just so into it. And it almost feels like it's like Camp Nou, and the size of it, the way the stadium
Camp Nou
shaped,
versus Real Madrid type. Yeah.
well, it's just like so lively,
Mhm.
which, would be really cool to kind of see. So pay attention to that. But Sam, my card of the week is going to be the fact that there were no beer boots available in the stadium yet. What are we going to do? So, my buddy and I are going, to this match. We want to get some beer boots. We're ready for this, fun game on a Saturday night. In the Coors Light Bar, they tell us, hey, these aren't available yet. Next match they might be, which is I think March 22nd. She's telling us, hey, they're going to have handles on them this year. But, it's only good if I have one in my hand. So, 3 home games into the year is the first time we get the beer boots. Like little disappointed by that.
Yeah. Do you think that it ruins the beer boot if there's a handle on it, or do you think it helps?
It helps. It's just, I don't know if it solves the problem of you can't fit it in like your cup holder. Like in the stadium.
Aesthetically,
that's
right?
the bigger issue to
You're
me.
looking-
I don't care about that, but
So you don't care about the aesthetic, like the fact that
the aesthetic, I mean, the other ones were nice, but having a handle
I'm just
isn't
saying,
gonna,
like, it's gonna look a little weird with a
it
handle.
might.
But do you want efficiency? Do you want like to be able to grip it better?
The fact that
all
the
that,
cleat,
but-
was on the bottom and you go to set it on the ground and it wouldn't always stay up that way. Like if they had designed like, the thing to go down and to fit into the cup holder, like amazing. That would be the best. But
Well, then is it a boot?
it's probably not a boot then.
It's not a boot then.
That's true. But looking forward for that. Hopefully they have different graphics, on the side of the boots like they do each year. It's something unique. I think we're one of the first teams, at least in the US, that did it, and then Nashville copied us. But
So future idea here, we could rank. Obviously, the Reds have the beer bat, right?
Sure.
So do the Bengals
Hockey
need to
has-
come out with like a beer football or like a beer?
and I think like some of the hockey teams have
beer
like
helmet.
the hockey stick too that you
Yeah.
can drink out of.
Hockey
But,
too.
so
Yeah.
what would the Bengals have?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it'd have to be like a football or goalposts.
The goalpost.
I think that would be kind of cool because you're thinking, right, like everything is like a cylinder.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know because at that stadium, like the beer sales are not a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the football's probably a little bit more likely there, but that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
On the flip side, Sam, jersey swap of the week. What you got?
Yeah. So jersey swap of the week, for me is easy. It's going to be Kevin Denke. 2 goal contributions in two of the past games. He's got 5 contributions in his first 6 games total. He has now scored the winning goal in all 3 wins for the club this season. So carrying the team on his back. Also had, the nice assist to Buka, PK goal. I think we continue to see proof every match of Pat Noonan's words, that they are true. Denke is in fact one of the hardest working players we've ever had at FC Cincinnati. You could see it on the pitch, how much it means to him, the passion he plays with, and he accepts literally any physical challenges and just carries on in the match. And I think Pat had said something like, I love the physicality from him, but let's try and use his talent and his physicality in a positive way rather than, just him getting beat up out there. So love what we continue to see from our number 9.
Yeah, man. I don't have much to add because you nailed it. He's had an incredible run to start the season, and it's exactly what you would want out of this signing. I hope he doesn't hit, a patch of dryness with his, contributions. But even in the moments where, it hasn't gone well for him, like he doesn't put his head down and kind of sulk. Like the dude's right back at it, and he's creating chances and he's finishing, in his PK, like very calmly as well. So definitely happy and excited to see what he can do actually tonight, in a hostile environment. Against a lot of players that are going to be gunning for him because, he's the guy as much as Evander and Orishano. Like, luckily, we have a lot of them, so they can't just target one. But, yeah, Denke's been a monster this year.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something. Obviously, we're going to break it down here soon, but something you got to watch for this next game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's yours? No, what's yours? No, go ahead.
I was waiting.
No, we'll do this. We'll do this every pod if we have to. I'll sit here and I'll wait. I'll wait for you to answer your own question. Now, what was your jersey swap of the week?
I had Pavel Buka. I feel like Pavel is the glue guy, man. He makes it all work. You saw when he was not there against Philly, like it all just came crashing down. And you get Buka back in for the Tigres match, and it was a breath of fresh air. Like he scores within the 3rd minute and slots it away, and you're like, we're back. Yep. Buka just makes it happen. His experience, in the midfield in big moments, he's played in Champions League matches, and just to see him, play well with some of the guys in the front line that maybe he hasn't played with a lot, like Denke, and Denke lays it off to him, knows exactly where he wants it, and for Pavel to slot it away. He's going to play a ton of minutes this year. But in both these matches, he had 7.7 match ratings for both of them. And I just felt like he had a solid week and, again, had just proved his worth, so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's kind of shown that he could be somebody that we can just lean on, right? He'll be the consistent piece throughout the whole team. Regardless how the rest of the team's playing, Buka's going to show up. And
honestly, even more of the scoring aspect.
Yeah,
They called for it so much last year. Like, we heard about it, and then, like, now he's doing it, So
instead of the
happy
Champions League, he's scoring in the Champions Cup. He's just a champion scorer, Ryan. He's a champion scorer.
I'm ready for more. Tonight, Buka is going to go off. Let's see it.
Getting his 4th, 5th, 6th?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. Him and Denke. Why not?
Well, so he's had his brace, right? He's had his 1-goal game. He just needs a hat trick now. 1, 2, 3.
Down at Tigres, he's going to get a hat trick. That'd be
incredible. Yeah.
That would just be jersey swap of for the year if he does that. But FC Cincinnati too, Sam, they came out with their new kits for this year, and man, they've done almost arguably better than the first team for 2 years in a row now. So they had their new jerseys that came out this week. They had their first match, and they had a new signing all in the same week. So big week for them. I want your kit review for FC Cincinnati too.
Dude, this kit is clean. I like it. I like it a lot. It's given me 2018 vibes. Very clean jersey. I think, last year they had similar ones with the white kits with the blue stripes. But this is taking you back, right, to the very first days of FC, with that, the blue as the solid color, orange stripes. It was just, I love it. I really do.
It's a nice looking kit. It's clean, like you said. The only difference from 2018 is that it does not have the Bavarian diamonds in the orange. So that's my only small critique of it. Like the 2018 ones were chef's kiss, they were beautiful. We had been calling for it for all last year. Yeah. Then these ones come out and everyone's like, all right, how do we actually get a hold of these? So here tonight, we're telling you, the original kits from 2016, the first ones, were available in the team store for this past match for $85. Kind of ridiculous, honestly, for non-Nike kits. But as of today, the FC Cincinnati 2 jerseys are going to start to be available to purchase. So stay tuned for that. I believe that is going to be happening soon as well. So you guys can go and actually rock the FCC 2
That's a
kits.
huge.
I'd
That's a
be
huge win. That's a
instant
huge
buy,
win.
right? Instant buy.
Yeah.
Which
Huge
is
win
great.
for the fan
I
base.
love to support them. Now, Sam, my first FCC 2 kit, Nick Haglund jersey. Nicky Hags gets his start in the unfortunate loss, actually 1-0 to Toronto FC's second team. But Haglund finally gets his first minutes of 2025. Dado was on the bench. We had the Shirilla brothers there. We had Stefan Jimenez.
Yeah.
We did not have Bret Halsey. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it was unfortunate. They played a tough game. There's a lot of new players on this team, including a defender we had just signed for the FCC2 team, Dylan Hurtado, I believe, 18-year-old guy who had played down in Colombia, one of the most prestigious youth academy clubs down there. So just the influx, of all these international young players coming in. It might be hard to kind of get that all together, to start. But excited to see what they can do this year. Obviously not the start that they wanted, but keep supporting this team. I think it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I would love to get some more info, especially if Andre is able to make it to the first team sometime this year. The first set of brothers, obviously for FC Cincinnati, but what's the lineage, right? What is the other history in the MLS of brothers playing together? I think
the Roldans in Seattle.
Sullivan brothers, right? They
Sullivan brothers in Philly.
Yeah.
Roldan brothers in Seattle right now as well.
Yeah, so I would love to see a graphic, right? That's what I'm looking for later on this season, but glad we could get it in FCC2. With the new signing of Hurtado, he actually joins Juan Machado as the second player from Estudiantil that was signed. So I think that's nice, right? That there's some familiarity, a lot of South American talent in the club. So you're seeing that more. Hopefully it continues to, I think the goal that we've seen, right, is development. Last year was an anomaly from previous years of just, hey, wow, we killed it. We came in first. So maybe, I don't know how much we'll see of that. Because like you said, it's a lot of new faces, right? Not a lot of people that have played together. So how long is that going to take? Especially, in this match, you throw in Haglund, you throw in, some other pieces that may not be there long term. So I'm excited to see the development of these young guys.
Well, I think you make a good point, especially with if we want to in some ways build up our academy and get a lot of guys from the academy through to next pro to the first team. And for some clubs the idea is just academy. Others, like you, focus more on your next pro. A lot of our next pro guys this year we've brought in from different places, not necessarily other next pro teams. So in my eyes, it's more of a low risk, high reward situation. You get a lot of these very talented players that maybe you don't want to bring in necessarily to your first team, but that can play in America and kind of get used to things, playing in our system, the way that we like to do things, and then bring them up to the first team. I think that's pretty cool. And then add your influx of the best academy kids. Maybe we're not quite there yet to have all of these guys make that next leap to next pro. So it's kind of a nice in between there. And I think hopefully you'll see, like we had in the last few years, just starting to get some more pieces, from that. Unfortunate transition, going from that to what we're going to talk about next. But Sam, on Friday, Bret Halsey got waived, a 24-year-old wing back that we had been seeing, as on a supplemental roster spot for the main team. He had just signed a contract extension, in December. So a little bit of a shocking move, especially when it had come out, in the time that it did. It almost makes you start wondering about, what's going on with this situation. It's a little interesting.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of a surprise to us all. I think we're big Halsey fans on this podcast. Always have kind of supported him, but throughout the 3 seasons he's been with FC Cincinnati, he's been a consistent. I take it, but probably an up and down player. I think we've seen the potential that he's been able to create. He actually, looking back, Ryan, to last season, he was part of the round 1 of the Champions Cup best 11 last season. So him and Lucho. So if that doesn't tell you the potential that he has to possibly be a starter somewhere, maybe in the MLS or USL, but obviously behind the scenes there's some type of just they're not getting on the same page. Obviously
Yeah,
he was told something and
Right.
it doesn't seem like he wants it.
Well, because it's a weird timing. You don't
Yeah.
just release a player, based off on a whim. He's a supplemental roster spot. He's not taking up any of the first team roster, so you're not opening up a spot. For all those who are listening, you're not opening up a spot necessarily for a first team player unless it's a supplemental roster spot. So he did make 42 appearances, and honestly, we need some wing back depth. So I was a little bit shocked and surprised because, besides Yedlin, besides Engel, we have Powell, we have not really a ton of Orishano, we don't have a ton of options. And Dowie just went down, with his clavicle. Like, I feel like that's a player that I'm looking to see now fill maybe Halsey's spot in the future. But the timing, again, it's bizarre. So on Tuesday's match, against Tigres, he was out of the squad completely after playing a sub role in the Philly match for, at the time, was a coach's decision. There were rumors that, even the next couple of days after, he didn't show up to training. I don't know. I remember last year he did get 2 cards, in the match, and got a red card, like as a sub, I think, too.
Yeah.
I can rumor all I want about his attitude, this and that. Like, I don't actually know, but like it's again sounds like more of like there's a conflict of, where they had seen him going in this team and where he wanted to be. Pat Noonan addressed it saying nothing more. We felt like it was the right time to make this decision. They wish Bret the best. We wish Bret the best as well. Sam, my original thought was even, did they want him to play some FCC 2 minutes to kind of keep up because he wasn't playing as much first team and to kind of keep up with, his development? And he might have just been like straight up, no, like, I'm done with that. I want to play first team minutes. Interesting, because then you have Dotto that goes and plays. Obviously his is more of maybe a rehab stint, but I see him still playing kind of both ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. Past that, we don't really know a ton.
I will
interesting.
say he will be in our memories and forever, with the Flyin Lion podcast lore, because in 2023 you gave him a jersey swap, I gave him a jersey swap. So he will forever be a part of the podcast.
I thought you were going more like the dude helped us. He was on the roster for our first trophy too.
Well, yeah, that one too, but he didn't.
That's where I thought more you were going with, but
I mean, yeah, if you want to do that one too, I mean,
yeah, interested to see what happens. With Bret Halsey again. We wish him the best. He'll probably end up in Colorado. Let's be honest, with all of the other FCC
with the
players.
rest of the
Yep, him and Murphy and Awazium, they all meet up there, and with Calvin Harris. So
yeah, the Cincinnati Rapids.
The Cincinnati Rapids. Yeah, so leg 2, as you're listening, is going to be tonight, 10:30 Eastern Time at the El Volcan. It's going to be quite the atmosphere, Sam. 60, 70,000 fans down there yelling, screaming, doing a whole bunch of crazy things, and it's going to be interesting. It's the second time we've ever played down in Mexico as a squad. Right now it's 1-1 on aggregate. Tigres is up on away goals, so we got to get a goal to at least have a fighting chance to go to PKs. So in this match, Sam, what are we looking at? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, right now I'm seeing, I think, like you said, Tigres has some guys that are still out. Still don't know the status as far as going into game time tomorrow, what that's going to look like. We'll obviously have a little bit more time. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, just update that because I just actually had run into it. They won their match on Sunday.
Yeah, I saw that. Actually against
1-0.
Kiritaro.
Yeah, against Kiritaro. But Diego Lainez, one of their better players, did not play in that one.
Okay.
Gignac did not play. And then their number 10, Guririan, I believe, is the Argentinian guy, also did not play. So I don't know if that's just more rest to try to get them ready for Tuesday, but
yeah, could
hopefully
be
that's a good sign for us.
Yeah. exactly. It could be interesting. That gives me some hope a little bit, right? To be like, okay, like they're still not at their full strength. We still have, a shot. We're obviously close to full strength, with most of our guys up top at least. And I thought what was interesting, Ryan, I found the stat, looking on the CONCACAF website.
As one does.
But yeah, FC Cincinnati and Tigres are actually the top two teams in the tournament in fouls committed. So expect this, like I said earlier, to be another physical game. Expect Denke to get, shoved a lot, and hopefully he doesn't get, into a shoving match and we get a card or something. But obviously, so far this Champions Cup doesn't really look like it's been called FC Cincinnati's way. So I would probably look for that to continue. So we just gotta get over that.
I had to go back and look it up. You bring about, fouls. Hadebe had like a 2-footed slide on the guy. So, I don't know what Tigres player is assigned to him to go and take him out this game, but I feel like there's going to be some sort of thing coming his way. So that's something to look for. Obi, of course, he got a card in this past match. So if either Hadebe or Obi get another card, a yellow, they will actually be out for the next round because the cards actually start accumulating starting in this round of 16. So something to look out for, like you said, especially being so physical. I just hope that we can keep our composure, honestly, is the biggest thing. Playing down in this atmosphere, you have to be able to keep a level head. Obviously we've seen that this year, but we haven't been tested in the way that we're going to be in this environment. So like we need the experienced guys, especially Robinson. He's got 15 CONCACAF Champions Cup appearances, which is the most on anyone on the team. To kind of get all the guys together and say, don't be, shaken up by this. Even if it doesn't go our way early, like we got to stay in it. I looked to the Columbus Crew last year, Sam. They played actually at El Volcan. They played Tigres and they won actually on PKs en route to their appearance in the final. So the actually interesting part about that is they gave up an own goal or a giveaway off of their keeper. Schulte, and they actually came back and tied it, went to PKs and won. They're one of the only teams to win, from the MLS down there at Tigres. So it's going to be a tough one. I have full confidence, though, in our guys just kind of coming off this win and hopefully having a full strength roster. But what's your prediction on a lineup?
Lineup wise, I think you go back to back five, right? You go back to what we've seen. I think back line, you're looking at probably something similar to what we've seen, like Engel on the left, with Hadebe, and then Miles Robinson, maybe a Flores or a Powell, and then Yedlin on the right. Midfield, honestly, midfield is interesting considering, Obi could be out for the next game. And the fact that Anunga had a great game last game. I don't know if you see Obi come off the bench again, like he did last game, to be able to, come in as an enforcer late. I could see a toss up for either one. I'll go with Anunga in the middle, and then, maybe you see Kubo, Orishano, Evander, and then Denke up top.
Oh, that's too many players. You got to go one down from that.
Who am I leaving? Kubo. I'll leave Kubo off then.
Okay, because you said
Anunga, 5 in the back. I got you.
Yeah. With 4, you could add that one in there. But mine's similar to yours. I think I was thinking about, do you go back 4, you go back 5? I think against a team that's going to be like gunning for you, in a way. The same token, though, like we actually need to be on the front foot. Like we need a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can't be complacent. So I think like in some ways they might have tried the 4 in the Toronto game to kind of prepare themselves for the Tigres match, knowing that we had to get an extra attacker, forward to get something going. So I'm with you on the defenders. I think if we go 4 in the back, though, the 2 in the middle are going to be probably Hadebe because they subbed him out. Like they wanted to get him more minutes. And then Robinson, Engel and Yedlin. Obi, I think they just, by the fact that you want to roll out your best, I think they go with Obi and Buka. And then I'd actually have Evander, as the one in the middle. I'd put Orishano, Denke, and then I think that adds one more. Then you could probably add Kubo or Baird, there if we do go 4 in the back. Hopefully that added up to 11. I think.
Yeah,
I think
so.
because it added one more attacker up front.
Yeah.
And I think he just rolls out that way, or we should at least consider it that way, because again, we have to push to get this away goal. Maybe you switch to a back 5 once you're up, and you're level on aggregate technically. But does Buka continue his hot form? Again, like we've seen him dominate in this competition. Like I think that'd be a good player to look out for as well, especially if, we do go 4 in the back. We need our midfielders to cover, and maybe he doesn't get as forward because of that. You might need him a little bit more defensively, especially, if we do go 4, then you have Obi that is, of course, going to cover ground, but you need Buka to do that too. What's your prediction, though, for this match?
Yeah, I think 1-0, and then we that would make us go into PKs. So I think we win in PKs.
Yeah, good shout. Would it technically? I'm
well,
thinking
so
about
it would
this
be
now.
well,
It's
they have an
1-1.
away goal, right? If we get an away goal, 1-0, does that
technically 2-1 on aggregate, so we would advance then.
So because we would both have away goals, but we would have more goals. So
Correct.
I'm just gonna go 1-0 then.
All right, I'm gonna go 1-1, and I think we're gonna win in PKs down there, which will just be electric, but also give me a heart attack at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, no kidding.
So stay up for this match. It's going to be incredible atmosphere watching. Go and find your local supporters bar and get together with a bunch of FC guys. Like, I think that'd be awesome just to see us advance in this tournament. If we move on, we would play either the likes of I think Alan Cruz's team from Costa Rica, right?
Yeah, or LAFC.
Herediano?
LA Galaxy? LA Galaxy.
Herediano or LA Galaxy. And Galaxy is actually down on the aggregate right now too. So might be a nice route if we can sneak past, which would be pretty cool. But then Tuesday to Saturday, Sam, we're back in MLS play. We're going to be playing at Charlotte for match day number 4.
Yeah, they just played Miami away, and actually they lost against 10 men, which was interesting. Messi, I don't believe he started the game, but
no, he's on the bench.
Yeah, he was on the bench, which we've had some interesting history against Charlotte all time in MLS play. We're actually 2-2-2, so just straight across the board, even. And Ryan, I'll give you this little tidbit that you found.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. This is the only Eastern Conference opponent that we've never beat on the road. Pretty wild stat. So hopefully we can get it done there. In previous matches there, 2 draws and a loss. And always playing on turf is difficult. But when you go down to altitude in Monterrey, playing at Tigres and then have to go to Charlotte and play on turf in front of a huge crowd, like we're just going to probably play against a combined, crowd-wise, like 120,000 people over 2 matches. If both are filled up that way, like I think Charlotte's been averaging like 40 or 50, right?
Yeah. And then you pan up, you look at the top bowl, and it's not really, so
it's still going to be a pretty
yes,
atmosphere.
yeah, absolutely. I think with the turf, I think it's the same with Atlanta, right? Like playing there is tough, crowd, big atmosphere, but hopefully, we're able to come off of a Champions Cup win and be able to lay something down into Charlotte. Obviously, big offseason for them, bringing in Wilfred Zaha, and then building off of their defense. I think they had last year their goalkeeper won, Golden Glove, right? Or
yeah, he was up there. I don't know if he actually won it, but Kalina was.
But they had one of the best defenses in the MLS last season. So
and
definitely
get Tim Ream too to that.
Yeah, definitely going to be tough in the back to be able to get something on target there.
They're gonna be probably like super upset about the way that the Miami match went too. They always play well at home. They like dominated Atlanta when they played. I watched that match, but Charlotte's on my to-go-to list for away match. I think it'd be a really cool atmosphere. It's in a football stadium, but it doesn't feel like it's in a football stadium. Like,
what are your thoughts on their post game?
It's kind of cool. It's a little cheesy, but
yeah, okay.
yeah. So what Sam's describing is, Zaha was the game winner, against Atlanta. He goes up and he sits in like this big throne, after the match up by the supporter section, and puts the crown, on afterwards, which is like, if I was a fan of Charlotte, is like low key pretty cool. Like, is it, another Eastern Conference opponent? Like, okay, it's a little cheesy, but like, wouldn't you think that would be cool? Like, if we did something after the match like that for like your match player or something, like coming over to the supporters group?
I I don't know. I think it is a bit cheesy. Just with like the video made it look cheesy.
The video made
Um,
it. Yeah.
so the fact of the matter, I think it'd be cool maybe for big time games, but I don't know about every single game going over there doing it. And I think what FC Cincinnati, all they do right now is the Heineken thing, right? Do we still have the Heineken thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know if we do the Heineken thing anymore. I was thinking of Champions Cup, they give them like a, player of the match day
Yeah.
thing, but
Yeah, I know in the past FC is right, they had the little
right.
like boot. So I don't even know if we do that anymore.
Yeah, and years past it used to be like a guitar, I think, is at one point as well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it kind of seemed random at the time, but maybe we could give them like a sword or something.
I would,
Like
yeah, I'd
every
always
single,
opt for a sword.
I don't know. Like, you're gonna give every single player of the match day a sword then?
How
Like,
weird would it be if we put like griffin wings on them?
yeah, I don't know. But it's the matchup of the Queen Cities. Like, Charlotte's gonna claim they're the Queen City. We claim that we're the Queen City. Like, there's always this beef.
Yeah.
Do we have a rivalry name with them if it's a rivalry, like Battle of the Queen Cities, or
Well, I think that's what we've dubbed it whenever we put out graphics for it. So be it.
man, so complex with that
Yeah.
name. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do. Like, because again, there's so much like hype about Charlotte this year. They're not going to have like a midweek match, so they'll be fresh.
Rested.
They're going to be at
Yeah.
home. They'll be upset about the one before. But if we can go in and get a solid result at Tigres, like, how amped, would our side be? And what's really cool is it's not Wednesday, at least it's Tuesday, so that gives you an extra
Yeah.
day of travel and maybe a little bit more rest. Charlotte isn't like the worst opponent, to go to in terms of travel as well,
Or weather.
or weather. Yes, so that's a good point. But yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do there. It's going to be a fast, physical game. My prediction, it's going to be 1-1. I'm going to go with the same result as we had in the Tigres one. I think we get a draw.
Yeah, I think first time in a long time, score prediction for me is actually gonna be 1-2. I think we lose by 1 goal. Unfortunately, it's just a tough place to play. Charlotte away is gonna be tough all season for everybody in the MLS. So, I think unfortunately we lose this one, but hopefully we continue the Champions Cup run.
Would you be like less upset about it than if we do advance in Champions Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because
I agree.
At least
Like,
we
if,
get 1-1.
if a loss has to come out of like, the Charlotte match, then at least, yeah, we're gonna have to win the Tuesday match for me to be like mentally okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even a draw, I think, is a fairly good result, like the way that it's going to play this year. So excited about these two matches. Hopefully we talk about some good results for next week. I would be super amped, if we got 2 wins. That would be huge for us and building confidence, honestly, for the rest of the year. But Sam, I want to have you kind of shout out a special announcement that we have.
Yeah, we got a special announcement of some Flyin Line content. I think we've talked about this before on the pod, something that we're cooking up. Look for the announcement coming later this week. This content will be exclusively on Goals TV. If you haven't checked Goals TV out yet, we are over there, as well as some other great podcasts in the MLS sphere and anywhere else in soccer, really. Great community over there. So be on the lookout for that announcement. We're really excited about this project.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be pretty cool. It has to do with the 10-year anniversary is all I will leave it with, but it's going to be pretty special. So go and check that out. We'll have a lot of things throughout the year that will go along with that. So hopefully you can join over on Goals TV. But Sam, why don't you close this out?
Yeah, so back to the trivia of the week. That was presented by Goals TV. I asked Ryan, when's the last time FC Cincinnati made it past the round of 16 in a Cup competition? And Ryan had said the MLS is back tournament back in 2020. Ryan, the answer is the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup in 2023 versus Inter Miami. We were at the game.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
So we lost 5-4 on PKs, but Ryan, this was an FCC game for history, right?
Don't want to talk about it.
If we would have gone
Don't
down,
wanna
right,
talk
actually
about it.
won this game, but we'll talk about it real quick here. FCC was up 2-0 until the 78th minute, gave up 2 goals to Campana. Joseph Martinez then scores, giving Miami the lead in extra time. Then Kubo scores again, tying it back up for FC Cincinnati, and ultimately we end up losing in PKs. Nick Hagelin and his PK was the one that was saved.
Something about U.S. Open Cup and 2-0 leads for us.
I tell you what.
In the semifinals, like both the Red Bulls match and that one was both 2-0 leads. And then the thing that makes me most upset about it, like fine if okay, we lost, like, and it sucked and it was at home and whatever. But like Messi had just come in. That was the first game that okay, whatever, third game or whatever it was that he came in and like just kind of went on cruise control and helped to like tie it, right? With his chip to Campana. But then in the final, they didn't even play like their main people and they just got like curb stamped by Houston. Like, yeah, that's the thing that people don't remember. It's like, oh, well, Miami beat you and then they went on and won, right? It's like, no, they went on and like rested all of their starting lineup so that they could possibly even make a Champions Cup like qualification for the next year. And so they rested all the people in the final, which was just so dumb at the time. So if it was us, like it would have been a competitive match. That's the thing that I'm just so upset about.
Yeah. Clearly, for all of those listening, Ryan is not holding any more reservations from 2023.
I blocked it out of my mind.
Yeah.
Both games. Columbus game, Miami game, blocked it out. That's why I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, so Ryan's gonna have to push that back further into his archives now. Let's put some cobwebs on that. Let's put.
You know how we get past that, Sam? We make it past the round of 16 against Tigres tonight. So everyone,
you won't hear this trivia of the week ever.
10:30. We're beating Tigres. You heard it here and probably on all the other podcasts too, because we're all optimistic about it. But tune in next week. Hopefully we'll have a solid week to recap. Thanks again for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. Sam, we'll see you next week.